Great, actually. It's only been a year since I started it. Started last year during the lockdown. And over the course of 1 year, we have actually connected a lot of first-time therapy goers to professionals. Uh, I have been helping people reach out to a suitable psychiatrist or therapist over a course of 1 year, and it has been a really fulfilling journey. Absolutely. I believe as long as people are not doing the campaign just because it's World Mental Health Day or just because it's a trending topic on Instagram and just because it's a quick way to encash some followers, as long as it's not for that purpose, I feel the mental health campaigns happening have been great. Because to begin with, all of us are talking about depression, anxiety. But we need to understand there are a lot of other mental illnesses that need our attention as well, and a lot of understanding as well. For instance, illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, personality disorder, there are a lot of other mental illnesses that need a lot of awareness, and people are really not talking about it. Despite of all the awareness, even now, going to a professional is frowned upon. So I think we need to take more step towards connecting people in need of mental health care with an actual mental health care provider that's actually going to solve a lot of issues of unawareness and illnesses going undiagnosed. It's been difficult and inspiring at the same time, because I did not start off wanting to become a mental health advocate. I was just someone who was putting out their thoughts, because I was personally battling certain mental illnesses and I was in therapy. And the fact that therapy is inaccessible to so many youngsters in today's world, that's just heartbreaking. So I was just trying to put out the things that I learned in therapy out there in the world so that it could benefit people who were not able to access it. There's a lot of unawareness around it. And the more I went about doing this, the more I realized that, okay, we really, really need to destigmatize mental health in this country, and not just India. It's an issue all over the world, I feel. First of all, the trend of comparing our lives to the perfectly doctored picture on Instagram, it's definitely dangerous and worrisome. But I just want to say that you need to stop looking at Instagram for validation. We look for validation on Instagram, and when we don't get it is when we indulge in self-doubt, we indulge in negative self-talk. Think of sensory overload which happens when we are scrolling through Instagram for hours and hours altogether. There are so many reels, so many trends, so many different things happening around the world. It's very easy to get sucked into that black hole of scrolling and waste hours and hours altogether. So it's very important, I feel, to unplug, like have a dedicated time schedule. I won't be using Instagram from 11 to 11:30 maybe. That 30 minutes, I'll actually take out that time to go out, do one activity that I absolutely love to do without feeling the need to capture it and portray it on Instagram. So taking that time off and going offline really helps you stay grounded and not get swept away in the black hole of Instagram and trends. And lastly, if you find yourself comparing yourself with an Instagram model or any influencer, remember that a picture it's only half the truth. So you see yourself feeling envious of someone else's life, just remember that you know only the surface of it, and everyone is on a different journey. Really, I find Instagram really tiring at times, and there came a point where I started creating content for others, and that really affected my mental health because I realized I'm doing this for validation and I'm not doing this for myself anymore. So that was the time I decided that, okay, you know what, it could be any day, anything could be trending, but if my mental health is not permitting me to go out there and post on social media, I'm not going to do it. first step is identifying what exactly anxiety is. Anxiety is really different from stress. Anxiety is also physical in a lot of ways, and there are some ways to identify it. For instance, a person can start feeling lightheaded, rest, they could feel restless, they could find themselves sweating, nauseous, diarrhea, shortness of breath, having intrusive thoughts like assuming the worst is going to happen. Anxious people also tend to need a lot of reassurance and second guessing. So if you see anyone around you with these signs and symptoms, I really want you to practice kindness. It is extremely important to be patient with someone who's going through anxiety. The key is to not force confrontation. That's the first thing. Not everyone may be ready for a confrontation when they're feeling anxious. You always have to take the kinder route to listening, actually listening and understanding what is causing those anxious thoughts in the other person. Also, if you see a loved one struggling, please do tell them that, whenever you feel all right, I am here if you want to talk. And please try to be there for the person. Just that one assurance can go a really long way for someone who's struggling. Lastly, there's one practical tip that I'd like to give. If you're having an anxiety attack, if an anxious person is having an anxiety attack around you, if a loved one is having an anxiety attack around you, you can put this area of your wrist where we have all the nerves and everything under cold running water. What that does is it jolts our body out of the anxious thoughts, come back in the moment, right? 4-3-2-1 method, in which you acknowledge 5 things that you can see around you, 4 things that you can touch, right? 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And when you do this last thing, 1 thing you can taste, you either drink a glass of water or you have a small piece of candy or a very small piece of fruit, because it's very difficult to eat when you're feeling anxious. The 5-4-3-2-1 method is actually a grounding technique, and it's scientific, it's proven. So I hope you're never in that condition, but if you are, please do follow these